This is the third video to talk about custom spline IK. Just to bring the level a bit further, we saw how to automate the stretching of bones and how to automate the transformation of the spline. Sorry, but I want to bring it a bit further to be able to create a spine. And I want to be able to rotate the spine without having any flipping on any of the axes. So what I've done here is just to set up with controllers. The controllers are away from the spline, and I'll show you how to do that in a few seconds. And the idea is those control will define the shape of the spine that is there. So if I grab any of those and I move them around, you'll see that the spine is changing the shape. I'm just going to undo that here. And you can see that I can really change the shape of that spine. If I want to rotate the spine in any direction, just grab the control object and rotate it in any direction. And the goal here is to avoid any type of flipping that we get when we do those type of spine. So if I rotate like this, you'll see that some of the bones here are flipping. And you'll see why in a second. If I rotate in this direction, and then it comes and it flips on the other side. So what we can do now with those multiple controls is if I want to rotate this area here a bit more, I can bring it like so, and then I can grab this one and just balance in between the two. And when I start to blend between those, I avoid any type of flipping. So now if I go in any direction, in any orientation, sorry, you'll be able to flip or to completely reverse the spine without having any flipping of the bones in a instant fashion. So I'm just going to go back here to the zero rotation and zero transformation for this, and we're going to take a look at how it was done and how it was achieved. So I may pause the video during the presentation because we've seen in the previous videos how to do the spline IK, but I'm just going to show you some of the details to achieve this effect. So I'm going to go into Layer Manager here for a second, just to show you some of the layers that I've hidden. So first of all, I've hidden all the end bones that were there, so just I've hidden them. I've hidden also the spline IK setup that is here, and I'm going to discuss that in a few seconds. And I've also created an up node spine, which is just an extra spine here that defines all the up nodes for the bone. So if I rotate this here, you'll see that the up nodes are traveling with the rotation of the spine. So every bone here is set up to point at this bone over there, or as a setup to point to the up node. So that's why we avoid all the flipping by having all of those control nodes over there. So let's see how it was set up from scratch. So I'm going to leave everything on. I'm going to go into right view from here, and we're going to do it from scratch. And you'll see also I've learned something new between the first video and this new one, and you'll see that it's a quick trick to do the spline here. So first of all, I'm going to go in line here to create a new line, and I'm going to drag and smooth just to start with. So I'm going to drag the creation of the line, and before I do that, just undo that. I'm just going to go into the Layer Manager and make sure that my default layer is my active layer, because right now I was creating object in a hidden layer. So I'm just going to go back here, go into the line, create in smooth, and I'm just going to create 4 vertices for that spine for now. So now we've got our line, and we've got 4 vertices in there. And you've seen in the previous video how I was doing an spline select, an X form, linked X form, and all of that. So there's a modifier, and that's something I've learned recently, is that you've got the spine IK control modifier that you can apply to a spline, and what it does, it creates an interface for you where now currently we don't have any control objects, but we can create helpers automatically. So if I go here and create helpers, 4 helpers have been created, and they're automatically linked to the vertices that were attached to the spine. So if I undo this for now, and I go back to my I'm just going to delete the modifier for now. Whoops, what happened to my modifier stack here? Just going to bring it down. I'm just going to go back to the line and go into the segment, and I'm just going to refine this segment here. Just put 1 vertex there and maybe 1 vertex there. Whoops, there. So if I stop the refinement and I just applying the spline IK again, and I create new helpers, you'll see that I'm going to get a helper for every vertex that is on the spine. So it's a really quick way to just assign those link transformation to the dummy object. So if I grab any of the dummy object here, you'll see that the spine is affected accordingly. So I'm going to undo that for now. Actually, I'm just going to delete the spine control, go back to the vertex level, just backspace to delete it, and backspace, oops, delete that, and I don't need those two dummy objects anymore. Actually, I don't need any of those anymore, and I'm just going to delete them for now. Alright, so let's go back to this spline where we got 4 vertices. Those will be our 4 control points. And we're just going to go here and apply the spline IK control modifier. And in the interface here, we're just going to create helpers. We've got those 4 helpers. And right now, you'll see that the link type is set to link all in hierarchy, but we want that to be to no linking. The difference between the two is that if I grab this dummy object here, you'll see that the top of the spine is of the spline is following as well, and I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to go back here and say no linking. And when you have no linking, that means that if I grab this dummy object here, it will be moving only this point and not affecting anything else. So that's much more handy this way. So now that we've got all of these, it's pretty much the same thing as we did before. We want to attach that to control objects. But before I do that, what I'll do is, since I know that I want to create another spine for the up nodes, I'll just shift and copy it and put it in the back here. And that's just because I know that I'm going to need it a bit later. Then after that, we're just going to go and create those control objects. Right now, I'm just going to shift and copy this one. You've seen how to create those in the previous videos. Right now, those control objects are not assigned to anything. I'm going to align that to this one here in X, Y, and Z position, and also in orientation. Right now, we don't have any rotation, so that's good. And I'm going to bring it back there. And I'm going to create 3 more for the other dummy object. Align this one to this one here, and just move it in the back like so. And you just try to recreate the shape of the spine, but it doesn't have to be too precise. It's a better solution when you try to replicate. Well, it's just for interactivity. For the user that's going to be animating with those controls, you just have the feeling of the shape of the spine, but you don't have to. It's just a question of preference. So now that we've got those 4 control objects, what we're going to do, we're going to take those dummy objects here, and each of them we're going to go and apply a constraint, a position constraint to the control, but we're going to keep the initial offset. So now when we're grabbing this control objects, the dummy object will move with it. And also we're going to go and apply an animation constraint and an orientation constraint to this controller over there. So now what's going to happen is that if I grab this controller and rotate it in any way, it's going to rotate the spine as well. So I'm going to pause the video and do it for the other control objects here. Okay, now it's done. We've got the 4 dummy objects here are attached or constrained to those controls. So now if I grab any of those, you'll see that they're fully controlled by those controllers over there. So now what I want to do is I want to be able to move those 4 dummy objects, or I want to realign the spline with this spline over there. So it's pretty easy. We're just going to grab this object here, and we're just going to link it to this dummy object here. So the reason why I'm linking it is I want if ever this dummy object here is rotating, I want this one to rotate around it, so that because we want to define the up nodes from on that spline, so we want that one to go around this one here. So I'm just going to go here and link it. I don't remember. So I'm going to link this one to this one, and then this one to this one. So now what we get is that if I grab this controller here, you'll see that I'm going to go in perspective view so we can see a bit better. So now if I go around like so, you'll see that if I rotate, or if I change the orientation of this dummy object here or this one, the spine actually goes around it. So it's going to be much easier to define the up nodes there. So you've seen in the previous video how to create the bones on the spine. Same idea as here we've seen in the previous video, so I'm not going to go over that. I'm just going to pause the video and do it for this one. And here you see that I've got 10 bones. But here I'm just going to create maybe 3 or 4 so that we can see the concept. So I'm going to pause the video and create a second one to bring it a bit further in the